Welcome to HSDF the Podcast, a collection of policy discussions on government technology and homeland security brought to you by the Homeland Security and Defense Forum. In this episode, General Laura Richardson, retired, pulls back the curtain on the complex geopolitical chess game happening in our own hemisphere, drawing from her distinguished 40-year military career, including command of U.S. Southern Command covering 31 countries across Latin America and the Caribbean. She offers rare insights into the factors driving migration to our southern border. Featuring General Laura Richardson, U.S. Army, retired, former commander of Southern Command. Dr. Gerri Alston-Meggett, Deputy Chief Information Officer, U.S. Secret Service. This discussion took place June 26, 2025 at HSDF Symposium, Defending the Frontline, Women in Homeland Security and Defense.
We are honored to be joined by General Laura Richardson, retired U.S. Army, and Dr. Gerri Alston-Meggett from the U.S. Secret Service. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Well, good afternoon. Okay, we can do better than that. Good afternoon. There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our fireside chat on From the Battlefield to the Homefront, Evolving Threats, Leadership Lessons, and Strength of the Interagency. As you heard, I am Gerri Alston-Meggett, very happy to be here. I'm currently serving as the Deputy CIO for the United States Secret Service. I see some former Secret Service and UD officers in the crowd, as well as some current Secret Service officers. So thank you so much for joining us. Our very special guest today is General Laura Richardson. Her biography is available on the Homeland Security Defense Forum event page, and I highly encourage you to read it if you haven't already. To set the stage for our fireside chat, however, I will highlight a few of her accolades that will inform our conversation today. General Laura Richardson is U.S. Army retired, a native of North Glen, Colorado. She's a graduate of Metropolitan State University of Denver, Colorado, and the National Defense University. She was commissioned into the U.S. Army as an Army aviator. She is the former commander of the United States Southern Command and has previously served as the commanding general of the U.S. Army North at Fort Sam Houston, deputy commander of the U.S. Army Forces at Fort Bragg, military aide for Vice Presidents Gore and Cheney, and served multiple tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. General Richardson is the first woman appointed to command U.S. Army North, the second woman to attain the rank of four-star general in the U.S. Army, and the third woman to lead a combatant command. Clearly, she is a highly skilled and well-decorated soldier and knows what she's talking about. So let's jump right in.
Thank you.
So, General Richardson, I have prepared for you 3 questions, which I'd have to say they're kind of meaty questions. So please take them at your pace. And then if time allows, we'll take some questions from the audience. Thank you, first of all, for being here today and for your 40 years of service. We are honored to be here listening to your sage, wise words of wisdom. Based on your experience commanding the Southern Theater, which covers a vast geographic area that includes 31 countries and over a dozen sovereign entities and waterways within Latin America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. What can you tell us in this unclassified environment about the drivers of migration to our homeland and the immigration crisis?
Well, thank you, Gerri, and thank you for your service and the many decades of service that you have given our nation as well. And my pleasure to be here, and nice to meet everybody today. As a combatant commander, the Department of Defense splits up the globe into 6 geographic areas. I had one of those 6 areas, and it included Latin America and the Caribbean. So 31 countries to work with the militaries and public security forces, because some of the countries don't have militaries. Panama, for example, has a public security force, a border force, not a military. But work with all of them as well as our Caribbean partners on security cooperation, contingency planning, training. We have 28 like-minded democracies in that region, and it's important that this region stay that way as part of team democracy, as we've seen others slide from that direction, like Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. And so working with them, championing human rights, the rule of law, the importance of their country's constitution, really what does that mean? And just all of that education training, but you learn a lot from being around your peers and your colleagues, right? And so I tried to be with them as much as possible. And so the drivers of migration. So this is the hemisphere with which we live. This is the Western Hemisphere. Like I can fly. My headquarters was in Miami. So I can fly to 80% of the region quicker than I can fly to my hometown of Denver, Colorado, right? And a lot of people don't realize how close that region. That's our neighborhood. We call it our neighborhood, and so it was my honor to serve there. But the drivers of migration, all kinds of things going on, right? I'll start with COVID because I came in October of 2021 into command. I had 3 years in command. I broke that 3 years down into 12 quarters. So you talk about, how as a leader do you look at things and how do you operate? Well, the 3 years seems like a really long time, but it's really not. And so when you look at how our Department of Defense budgets, we have a 5-year program of budgeting, and really to make things happen and to deliver results and deliver capabilities. You're lucky if you can deliver something within a year. You're really looking at 2 or 3 years. So how do you speed that up, right? You've got presidents in the region in these 31 countries that are in the seat generally for one term of 4 years. They're looking to make a difference for their people in like a couple months, not a couple years. They don't have time to waste. And if you can't, they're just looking for whatever is out there. Like I said, I came in October of 2021. We were coming, COVID was still alive and well. This region is about 9 months to a year behind. And the GDP impacts that COVID had on this region, because this region relies a lot on tourism, right, was anywhere from 8.5% to 18.5%, depending. That's huge, a huge detriment to their economies. Then you had this crime wave that discovered that they could just flourish in this region. And you have countries that have just been just really a lot of turmoil that they're dealing with. We also have a lot of U.S. companies in the region. And we don't want those U.S. companies to leave, right? We need that economic investment. We need that impact. And so I quickly realized that economic security is national security for this region, and that we needed to keep this investment and keep our U.S., what is going to keep our U.S. companies? The strategic competition off the charts, right, with China. 23 of 31 countries have signed on to the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, Colombia being the latest one, unfortunately, like a month ago. And so you have that's a lot of investment in infrastructure, critical infrastructure, which is not good. Deep water ports, space, safe city, smart city technology, 5G. Why is all that investment in the region under the guise of economic investment by a communist country with the state-owned enterprises that the government controls and all in critical infrastructure? So you have a lot of things that are going on. I mentioned the crime wave. You have Venezuela, where 8 million people, 8 million Venezuelans have come out of Venezuela into a region that is already hit hard with economic issues. And they're having to take care of migration. You have a 1,000-mile drought corridor that impacts this region as well through Central America. You just have a lot of things that are happening all at once, right? I would say that this region has been feeding and fueling the world for about 10 years now. There's a lot talked about that in about the 2014 timeframe with the agriculture. 50% of the world's soybean comes from this region, 30% of the sugar and the corn. You got the Amazon, right? The Amazon touches 8 countries in that region. The biodiversity is off the charts. 31% of the world's fresh water. You have the lithium triangle that's in this region, 60% of the world's lithium in Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. Chinese just built the first megaport in South America, just north of Lima, Peru. Why did they do that? Like, I worry from a military perspective about this being able to flip the application of what looks like, civilian use and flip it to a military use very, very easily. And so that's what I worry about. But that cuts down 15 days of transit back to China, just north of the lithium triangle. The rare earth elements, gold, silver, copper, cobalt, fastest growing economy, Guyana. And no, Guyana is not in Africa. Guyana is right next to Venezuela. And that's why Venezuela has been threatening Guyana, right? Because, oh, by the way, just happens to be the offshore oil that was discovered. They want half of it. And that's that disputed region that President Maduro continues to talk about. Today in the news, it doesn't hit our national news, but I still watch all the news for the region. I was talking about the governor that Maduro appointed as the governor for the disputed region, which is half of Guyana, is delivering 5,000 desks to the people in this disputed area, right? The governor of the Essequibo region, again, which is Guyana, it's not Venezuela, right? So anyway, I've been to the migrant shelters in Colombia, Panama, and in Guatemala. I've talked with families getting ready to make that very dangerous trek, that journey through the Darien jungle. Since then, you heard about all this migration through the very dangerous jungle. Panama, with the relationship of our administration, Trump administration with the new administration from Panama, have shut down migration through the Darien jungle, which is, in my opinion, great. And the reason why is because it was very dangerous for families. You had the drug cartels that were threatening the families or making them take drugs and things like that, but not just families. You used to have a lot of single movers in migration, but now you see the families. But, as I talk to these people, these families, families with little kids, pregnant wives, getting ready to make a journey through a jungle. Why are you doing this? Where are you going? We're going to the United States. Why are you going to the United States? Because I want to have a home. I want to be able to have health care. I want to be able to buy food. I want to have a car. I want to be safe. I want my family to be safe. And so it was really, as part of the instruments of national power, diplomacy, information, military, and economics. Obviously I'm the M piece. So wanting to make sure that everything that we were doing for the military, foreign military sales, foreign military financing, but that doesn't happen so fast, right? That's way too slow. We're trying to speed it up. But what else was out there to show investment? What else was Team USA doing to help with investment? We're doing a lot of things. We just don't brand very well. We don't talk about it. We don't brag about it. We don't put our flag on anything. We don't brag about what Team USA is doing for our hemisphere with which we live. We need to do better. But, again, a quick realization about how do we make the American dream the America's dream, right? How do we make the American dream the America's dream? How do we have people just feel safe, stay in their country, be able to get a job? Ronald Reagan said the best social program is a job, right? People just want to be safe and be able to raise their families. So anyway, and I think we can do that. I don't think that's too tall of an order, especially with everything that this region has to offer. And then you add tourism on top of that. I think we can do it, right?
Right.
Not too tall of an order.
And I think we have the right people in the room to help us do it. Okay, thank you for that. Question number 2, regarding your experience commanding Army North, I've had the pleasure of seeing you in action up close with support to DHS, FEMA, EP, and HHS, CDC, and NIH, whether it was the COVID response, hurricane response, fire response, or securing our southern border. How would you describe Team USA and the interagency coordination required to protect our homeland? More specifically, which camp are we in? Teamwork makes the dream work, or does not play well with others?
Gotta play well with others. Absolutely. We're so lucky to have a national response framework, right? DHS updates this document, but when I was in Army North, and every combatant command, I described what a combatant command is. All 6 of the geographic combatant commands have a subordinate command from every service, including the special operations. And so, for example, if it happens over the land, if it's a disaster response, COVID, whatever it was, then the Army command generally got that, right? If it was over water or something like that, then the Navy command got that. So we had a lot happen during the period of 2019 to 2021. And so all those things about the being able to respond and being able to employ active duty military or mobilized reservists or mobilized National Guard, right, under Title 10 authorities to help with whatever the crisis was. And so, like, for example, with COVID, that had to be a request. That was a request from the governor for help because their capability was overwhelmed. They had already employed their National Guard, and it was just too much. And so, like with COVID, the first response we had was sending an Army field hospital and actually setting it up inside of the Javits Center in New York City, and setting another Army field hospital to Seattle and setting that up inside of the empty event center. But we have, there's just 2 examples, right, of being able to move out very, very quickly on something that, to help states be able to handle that situation. And then also you have the states that have emergency agreements with other states, right? And then they'll help too with capabilities and things like that. But we are very lucky to have thought through all of the technicalities. Now, obviously, it's a living and breathing document, so it gets iterated and changed as we learn lessons and things like that. But that was extremely helpful to have that national response framework. You've got the emergency support function, ESFs is what they call them, 15 of them. So like transportation, communications, healthcare, whatever. And certain interagency governmental agencies are responsible to participate in those emergency support functions, right? So it requires the interagency to work together. And so I will tell you that I think we've learned a lot from COVID, from Operation Allies Welcome, from the vaccine sites to hurricane response. I went to Southcom, then, what was crazy is the National Guard State Partnership Program. Our National Guard have partnerships with other countries. All the same adjutant generals I worked with pretty much during the COVID and OAW I was working with in Southcom too, because they had this decades-long partnership with the countries in the region. But the ability of our nation to come together and to overcome disasters and things like that, and the recovery, and have the interagency, we're really powerful as Team USA. When we work together, when we use all of our instruments of national power, we are really, really.
Thank you for tuning in to HSDF the Podcast. Follow HSDF the Podcast and never miss the latest insider talk on government technology, innovation, and security. Visit the HSDF YouTube channel to view hours of insightful policy discussion. For more information about the Homeland Security and Defense Forum, HSDF, visit hsdf.org.